Hello and welcome to EduCurious. Today we have special guest Denielle Fields. She is a successful medical sales rep, which allows her to be really flexible with her schedule, and she spends a lot of time in her son's classroom. So, welcome, Denielle. I can't wait to pick your brain.
Thank you.
So, to get us started, I want to hear a little bit about your perspective from the parent's point of view, how important it is to be involved in your kids' education.
So it's extremely important to be involved in your kids' education. My main focus when I started to volunteer was to figure out where my son was within his class and within his classmates, as far as where he was struggling, what the curriculum was. I'd never had a child before. I'd never been in the school system prior to my son that's now in second grade. So in kindergarten, when I started helping out, it really helped me understand the curriculum of the school that my child's at. And it helped me focus him in the areas that he needed. So it's very beneficial. If I had not entered that classroom, I still truthfully believe to this day I'd be struggling as a parent to keep him up to speed.
Well, it's a totally different world because you're from the corporate world, which is where I came from too. And it's foreign. Everything is foreign. So, what do you feel like are some of the biggest needs that teachers could use for support in their classroom?
So the biggest thing support for these teachers is to know that the parents understand that the teachers have their best interest for their children. They want to educate your children. They want them to learn. If the parent is more involved and if a parent shows that they are willing to adapt to different teachers and different classrooms and different kids around their kids, that everything can be helpful. So I feel like these teachers, they really love the help. They love, helping them with copies, helping them in the classroom, just letting them know that you support them and you support what they do for your local community.
How did you get started volunteering? I know there's a lot of safety requirements, background checks, different things like that. Walk us through that process in case we have some people out there wanting to get more involved but not sure where to get started.
Okay. So when my son first started elementary school, I went ahead and filled out volunteer form just for field trips, just to go on field trips. I never had any thought process of helping out, didn't even really know there was opportunity to help in classrooms. So I filled out the standardized paperwork that you need to be able to go on field trips. I had met a friend and she was telling me one day that she was helping out a teacher. And I'm like, what do you mean you're helping out a teacher? And she told me, well, I make copies and, I read books to the kids that are struggling or the kids that are not struggling. And I thought, wow, that is really neat. I'm like, my son is struggling and I don't understand why because I have no clue on what's going on. So she encouraged me to help out. So when I started helping in the classrooms, I started seeing the structure of the classroom, started seeing exactly where my child was falling behind and what I needed to work on more with. And then it's evolved even to something bigger. I actually help out with the librarian. So I go to the library and help her as well. I still help my son's kindergarten teacher. I still help my son's first grade teacher. And now my son's in second grade, and I do help her as well. So it just keeps evolving. These friendships you make with these teachers help as well. I can reach out at any moment to any of them and kind of find out where my kid is or what's needed from them.
So, as a parent, the communication aspect is key. And maybe at the beginning, it was just like the very formal Remind app or Class Dojo. But tell me about what you see is very beneficial for communication between a parent and a teacher. What style seems to work best? What do you need to know? What do they need to know?
So that is very important. Communication is key. And with me being a sales rep, that is basically what I do all day. I communicate. I communicate to these companies of what my company can offer them. And I understand how important that is. So I actually said to myself, if I can do this for my company, I can do this for my son. I can bridge that relationship through some challenging teachers, some amazing teachers, teachers that don't want help, teachers that don't want a parent in their way. And I understand that as well. So the communication changes per teacher. So my son's kindergarten teacher is super easy. Communication was very, very easy. Second grade or first grade teacher, very easy as well. But in the beginning, she was more guarded. Now I think very highly of her and we get along great. I still help her. His current teacher right now, great person, but I think in second grade, they tend to not have that much help. So the communication was a different style with her. So listen, if you need help, let me know. I'm here to support you. In the beginning of the year, I understand I don't know you. That's great. I'll let you know if I need your help. But now, I can go into her classroom. I can text her. I can help out. I can, really show her that I'm there to support her at the end of the day. So the communication style changes year after year with each teacher, just like a person, just like a friendship. What I would say to a friend A to friend B, you just got to read people, I think, is the key to this. But honestly, all three of those teachers have become really good friends of mine, and they will always be forever in my heart because I've got to know them on a personal level as well, not just my son's teacher.
And you are super involved in the community, in the local community, and different leadership aspects, and with your job. So tell me about how teachers can really tap into the community support that maybe they are unfamiliar with, like grants or scholarships or just extra volunteers. Like, where would a teacher go if they're like, well, that sounds great. I don't really know where to get started, but I have a lot of things I need help with or need funding.
So, there is a lot of great resources in the community, but I think it's very important for teachers to understand that they have a lot of parents within their class that are wanting to help. I would start there. And then with those connections through your parents, they might have a connection to the Rotary, Lake Wales Rotary, or Lake Wales Leadership. There's so many different avenues and I think a lot of the schools do this well. The high schools always need community service hours and need to get stuff done. So that's a big help as well. But I really think it needs to start within the classroom, starting with the parents to help out first and then expand out from there. But as far as the community, I personally, as a teacher, would just make sure I had my connections in all the youth community groups.
From a business world standpoint, if you have a teacher or classroom asking you for something, what do you like to see on maybe a verbal proposal or like a written proposal to say, that is worth my time or that is worth my money? What do you want to see big highlights about before you're able to volunteer or give or help?
Okay, so I think it's very important the timing of asking. The school I'm at currently does a very good job of when they need volunteers. They're about 2 to 3 weeks out when they ask. So you can put that down on your calendar and you can make sure you make time for that. So there is a Remind app that they use that is great. It comes right to everyone's phone. They do social media. Facebook helps as well to see what events are coming up, and you can sign up through both of those, Facebook and the app. It's very detailed. I think I really think the whole key about getting volunteers is being timely with it, giving them a couple weeks to adjust, and letting them know exactly and clear cut what they need from them. And yes, you're right. You do want it in writing. You do need to know what is expected of you. And what I can say to parents is until you actually start volunteering and you get into your school and you get involved, it is going to be foreign. It is going to be like, I really don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm out of place here. I don't know anyone. But then as you just show up and you just do what you need to do, you become a family with that school.
So, what if I'm a parent and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not sure I like the idea of other people that I don't really know volunteering in the classroom. I need to know that they have been approved and they've been vetted and they're not just a stranger.
So I do know that they all have to go through a background check. And especially now, there's a more in-depth background check that's going forward. So that right there will cut out any of that concern, because I do know that it's pretty extensive.
Now, that's just something that I kind of think about as there's different people on campus from a safety aspect. And I know the school has been doing a really good job. Like, it's almost difficult to volunteer in your kid's school, and that's okay. Like, that is an okay thing. There are hoops to jump through. We shouldn't meet it with such like, ugh. It's to keep your baby safe.
Yeah, I agree.
So prior to having kids in public school system, I want to hear a little bit about your education experience, like your high school experience into college. I know you were super involved in your college education and got scholarships and were plugged into, just to have the viewers give a better sense of you.
20 years later, I look back and I'm like, none of that defined me. If I made all A's or if I made all C's, not a one of those grades defined me. So I think that is how I go into these classrooms and I see these children, and someone might say, oh, well, this child or that child or struggling, blah. And in my head, I'm like, it doesn't define that kid. It's all about their grit. It's all about what they want to do, where they want to go, what they want to become. So I think that's why I really like taking my school experiences and who I was. Even in elementary, it was the same way. In middle school, it was, I've been the same Denielle the whole way through my education, just to the very end when I was old enough and mature enough and truthfully told, well, hey, if you want to be in this program, you have to make all A's. You have room for one B. So I got 1B. I deliberately got 1B. But so yeah, it just, that is me in a nutshell, and I do love helping out because of that. It just does not define somebody.
Tell me a little bit about, you've got huge involvement, or you did, growing up in sports. Tell me why, in your opinion, you think sports is vital for a well-rounded child in the education system, maybe used as an incentive or a way to get extra energy out, just the connection between sports and education and childhood.
So sports is extremely important for children because in the classroom setting, it is just up to them, right? It's up to them to make that A, that B, the C, whatever they end up doing. There is no real group about it, right? So sports teaches children at a young age how to become part of a team, and how to have leadership, and how to lose with grace or win with grace, or maybe not necessarily like someone on your team, but you have to deal with them. And then by the end of that season, or whatever, the end of the game, you realize you learn respect for people maybe that you just instantly didn't think you would click with. And I do believe that happens at a young age. So I think it's very important for my aspect with my son. I feel like he's a team player. So more sports for him is more for the activity of it, to get him out and to do something. So there's all different reasons to have your kids into sports. The main thing is just to work as a team, right? So understand that it's not all about you as a child. Find out where you fit in this team, find out your strengths, your weaknesses. And I do that with my son. He plays a couple sports, and my son's a bigger kid. And so he plays basketball, and he's playing basketball with these kids that are, super fit, super fast, super skinny. And my son said to me, Mom, how can I keep up? And I'm like, listen, you can defend and you can move your feet. That's what you practice on, big guy. Like, that's what you do. So I think, like, sports for me and my child, that's what's helped me, is helping him understand where he fits, and that he is just as valuable as the little kid that's running up and down the court and has like 18 points, right? You have a place. And I think it's so important that children at a young age through sports find out who they are and how they fit into this world.
How important do you think it is to tie a reward to a goal, or make those milestones achievable for the kids from your point of view, being in there and watching it?
Making stuff achievable is huge. I do believe in the rewards, if that's what motivates children, wonderful. Where I get my heart broken sometimes in these classrooms is when I see a kid really trying. I mean, trying harder than the kid that's just making the easy A's, right? Like, it just comes to them. So they're getting all these rewards. And then there's this child that really is struggling, but working so hard. And sometimes that reward doesn't come. That breaks my heart. But that's just who I am. So the school I'm in, I do realize that they notice that, right? So they do individual achievements as well. So then I can feel good about it. But it's true, when you do rewards with stuff and achievement, I think it's wonderful. But it can't just be a bar here. It has to be all different types of bars, so every child can meet some kind of achievement and give them some confidence.
A lot of times it's really hard, and you were very open about this whenever you were talking about doing a repeat year, because that's like, it's such a hard thing for parents to tackle.
It's only hard when you're first hearing the words, right? When you're first hearing, we recommend, or your son is staying back in kindergarten. That reality of it is hard for me for the first 5 seconds of it. I do remember sitting back and going, well, it doesn't define him, right? I stayed back in first grade. It does not define my son. But it was a bitter pill to swallow, because I'm like, he writes his name, he reads some sentences. I thought he was great. So then she had showed me, and it opened my eyes. That is part of why I became volunteer as well, because I thought, well, okay, I thought my child was doing good, had nothing to do with the teacher. She told me all the way through that it was borderline, right? Borderline, yeah, he's fine, right? So then you find out, okay, he's not. So once I started helping out and volunteering, I really realized, wow, how valuable it was to keep my son back. And now it's every parent I speak to within my school that their kid has been held back has the exact same outlook on it, is thank God they were held back. Now our kids are just, they're just flourishing where they wouldn't have been. So it is a hard pill to swallow. But once you swallow the pill and you realize after that repeated year, you see the growth in your child. And he's in second grade now, and we don't have any trouble at all. He's A's, maybe a B. Like, barely have to check his homework. Before we were struggling, crying and couldn't figure this out, couldn't do this, and just shutting down. And after that, second year of kindergarten, we have not looked back once. I've had no issues. So I recommend it. I actually recommend it.
Good, because sometimes those conversations are extremely difficult, and it's so easy for us, for me, to want to blame the teacher and be like, what did you not do? Why isn't there growth? Why isn't there learning? And really and truly, a teacher does get to
It's at
see
home.
all of the different levels and has to make a professional judgment, just like in the corporate world, you're a professional, and they are not going to recommend something that does not have the data to back it up, really and truly. So I'm really glad you're able to talk about that, because it's scary and it's uncomfortable, but it's
Well, and that,
okay.
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly, I actually felt bad for her telling me, because I'm like, okay, this isn't her first time having to tell a parent. I could tell there is that reflection of parents wanting to come back on the teachers. It is. It's a group effort, right? So you send your kid to school and they do their part, but we have to do our part at home. Period.
Do you have some advice or tips on how to do your part at home after the school day ends? How to have positive homework time or student achievement or interactions at the end of a long day? What do you do?
So I'm glad you asked me that. I'm a little extreme. I was like, okay, so he needs extra help. So I did get extra help. I got tutoring. I went to Brandon Reading. We did that once a week. He did speech once a week. And then I also had one of the teachers within the school tutor him twice a week. And it might have been a little extreme, but that is how I thought I needed to take care of this. And I'm like, I need to address this now as opposed to later. And that second year of kindergarten, my son was such a trooper. We were everywhere. And then it just all clicked one day. So that's why I go back to, so now he's at first grade and we're doing second grade. And there is none of that. I don't have to struggle at all. He gets home. I make sure he has his 20, 30 minutes to himself, go outside and play or do whatever you want to do. And then he knows he comes in and because he has the confidence and he understands how to do his math and he can read now and he can do his sentences, it's really not an issue. He comes in and he gets it done like you and I do our job. It's no longer a fear. And I think children that struggle with homework and struggle with school need extra resources to get them there. And once they're there, once they can read and comprehend, as a parent, you can sit back and enjoy and be like, I have that kid that's in their room doing their homework and he's not crying. It's not this big drama thing. He's just getting it done. So my advice might not work for everybody. My advice is, if you realize your child is struggling or needs any extra educational support, get it for him. Get it for him. Do it. It is so worth it. It was so worth it. It was a year that we ran around ragged, and my friends know that, but now I go home every day after school. We don't have to, run around town and go to all these different places.
If I'm a parent and I'm trying to find some resources, tutoring, something outside of school, how would I start that? Where do I find any of that?
So everything's at our fingertips now, right? We have our phone, we have our computer. There's a lot of research that can be done. I'm not one that likes to overthink things. I'm kind of so where do I go? All right, fine, I'm going to do that. And this is it. So to be honest, I had a friend that was a speech therapist, and she really helped me through it. She is in the Brandon area. So we used her as a speech therapist. She did recommend Brandon Reading through some of her other students that she had been using. So we kind of just made a Brandon day. And then what I was realizing, which is the truth, so you can kind of just look up tutoring on the internet and find out where you want to go, right? And it's trial and error. If you show up and you don't like it, fine. So what I realized after almost a whole year of doing Brandon Reading, I'm like, they don't know our curriculum. And this is great outside, but I really need someone within our school that knows what he is going to be going through first, second, third, fourth, fifth to tutor him. So I had reached out to my son's second year kindergarten teacher and asked her, said, hey, do you mind tutoring him 2 days a week after school? And she was so great about it. And so I would first suggest that you start within your school and ask teachers, but the reason why I feel like she stepped up and did that for me is because I did build that relationship with her. I was in there volunteering. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the whole gamut it all goes together. It all goes together. Your relationships with the teacher, your respect for the teacher, true 150% you're going to give to your child in their education. That is why it's easy for me to find help, right? Because I help them, they help me. But I would tell a parent that maybe doesn't have time, because let's be honest, there's some parents that don't have time to volunteer, and that has nothing to do with who they are or they're not wanting to help out. They have to work a 9 to 5 job, period. And that I commend them. So I understand that. So let's just say it's one of those parents and they need extra help. I would contact the school your child's at and say, hey, listen, is there any teachers that you think would like some, extra money or would like to tutor? In our school, from second grade and on, they do free tutoring. So I guess that is a godsend for a lot of parents. It's just that kindergarten to first grade and the school we go to, that might be a little challenging. But there is resources out there. But it is time and money, and not everyone has time, not everyone has money. So I understand that as well. I personally couldn't just go home and tutor my kid and help him grow. It was not going to work. We weren't going to work. So some parents can. So maybe they are the tutors.
And yes, there are built-in programs certain times of year for the tutoring within Title I schools, but resources outside are also great. And I feel like I have not experienced this, but there are some high school students that have tutoring services. And as long as you vet them and make sure you feel comfortable, that could be a resource as well. So, are there any other thoughts, advice, information that would be helpful? What do you wish other parents knew?
I do wish parents understand that these teachers truthfully love our children. I do witness that every day I'm there. There is a respect for our children, a love for our children, and there's a love for teaching children in our school system. What I wish parents understood, that it does take a village to raise a child. And if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes, an army to educate them. The more hands-on the child gets for education and the importance of learning, the better everyone will be, and it will help out the teachers. But to be honest, I have such a found respect for teachers now that I'm going to be honest, I never had before, because I was like, yeah, they're teachers, good for them. Now I'm like, whoa, oh my goodness, they are saints, right? They deal with some of the most challenging things. Not only, they deal with the good and the bad and the ugly, and they handle it so professionally. And I just want parents to understand that teachers really are amazing. They are what they do. And I think we forget that, these teachers have families of their own. They have their own kids going through the school system.
Danielle, thank you for spending time with us on EduCurious. So, whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just EduCurious, join the community as we explore various educational topics and learn from each other. We will see you next time.